I just finished the Clone Wars for the first time, and now that means it's time to move on to another Star Wars show that I have never seen. So take a journey with me as I watch through Star Wars Rebels for the first time. Well, hello there. My name's Jeremy and welcome back to Freeform Disney, where I talk about all aspects of Disney, from the animated movies to the theme parks to Star Wars, Marvel, and Pixar, and the TV shows, and everything else in between. And that is why it's Freeform. And keep coming back every day for new daily content. If you're not subscribed yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Today, it's time to start a new to me Star Wars show, and this is Star Wars Rebels. Now, I'm a big Star Wars fan, and it's time for me to fill in another of those big gaps in my Star Wars media. Now, I have never seen any of the show Rebels at all before. I know only a couple generally vague things about Rebels, largely due to talk about The Mandalorian and people who could potentially appear there. Now, I also have seen that it does not look like I need any special way to watch this series, as it's apparently already in chronological order, which at least will make that easy. And yes, I have heard that, like Clone Wars, Rebels takes a little bit to really get going and gets a lot better after season 1, so I know that going in. So I'm tempering my expectations and being willing to put up with whatever might be season 1 until I get to season 2 and further. Oh, and a note just in case you're not clear on this, there are definitely going to be spoilers ahead as I'm going to break down the episodes and give you my reactions to them. So hey, without further ado, let's jump right on in. Now in this case, I started off with the shorts, because the shorts actually came before the show technically started. I guess to advertise it or whatever, so I did start with those 4 shorts. Now the first of those shorts is The Machine in the Ghost. So we get to see Kanan, who's a human, Hera's a Twi'lek, and apparently they're together. We get to meet Chopper, this droid, and Chopper's used as the in-between in this, between the two of them for jokes, and we really get a too many cooks in the kitchen kind of thing. And, well, it's really short. I mean, there are shorts, and then they're really short. I've got to say, the music was a little painful to listen to, especially after having heard the last bit of Clone Wars, because this is just painful recycled music in the short. Yeah. I've got to also say, I've seen good shorts that are heck 3 minutes or even less. But this doesn't feel so much as a short as it felt like a promo for the show. Hey, whatever, at least there's that, right? And introducing me to some of the characters. Now that said, I also did say one positive. I can definitely work with this animation. This doesn't seem quite as bad as, say, season 1 back in Clone Wars was, if my memory serves me correctly. Now, it's sure as hell no season 7 of Clone Wars in terms of animation quality, but then I don't think there would be any reason for me to expect that. Okay, so on to the second quick short, which is Art Attack. So now we're getting to go ahead and meet Sabine, who is a Mandalorian. So that's nice, a new Mandalorian in there, and she's busy graffitiing a tie and taunting the stormtroopers. And of course, they're all shitty shots. And frankly, this one was a little too unrealistic in how poor of shots they are. But this worked a little better as a short, I thought, than the first one did. But not a lot better. Oh, I like Sabine's little line there. Forget the explosion. Look at the color. Just that much into the art. That was fun. Well, hey, I guess they are good as promos. Certainly that's my thought here. I haven't seen 2 of them, but after 2 of them, I was really thinking, dang, I probably should have just started with the show and not these shorts. What can you do? Well, the third one is called Entanglement, and now we get to be introduced to Zeb, who's this furry purple alien with pointed ears. And back to those stormtroopers, there's being horrible shots, and then there is comically trying to make stormtroopers just utterly useless, and why the heck are we even having them in the episode? Sadly, this short was really the latter, not a fan. And hey, we also got to hear Kanan some more on the comm, so he popped back in there. And I suppose Zeb is interesting, at least, from this. That was my takeaway from there. And then the final one was called Property of Ezradger. So let's introduce Ezra. Now Ezra seems to be the Joker / smooth talker of the group just from having seen him here in this. Steals a downed Imperial tie. A pilot who's way too full of himself. And then I'm going, oh, wait, so maybe Ezra isn't part of the crew yet? Because I noticed, I'm like, oh, hey, look, that's our ship, right? The Ghost, I think, passing over the tie, huh? Well, at any rate, those were the 4 shorts, and I certainly feel like I could have probably skipped all 4 of them and been no worse for wear. So if you haven't watched it yet, just skip the shorts. They're not worth it. So goes my opinion. Okay, on to the show itself. The first episode, which we're going into a 2-parter, and this is Spark of Rebellion Part 1. So we start off the episode straight off to Star Destroyers and Vader talking to an Inquisitor who's being told to hunt down the Jedi who might train others or something otherwise might be a danger, yada yada. Feels a little heavy-handed as an intro, but that's okay, whatever. Well, let's move on. So we're off back to Ezra, and over on Lothal apparently gets called a Lothrat. He's a little street rat apparently, but hey, I don't buy that. Now I have to say, quite quickly it became obvious that he was at the very least force sensitive with some of the stuff he was doing. And hey, while we're down there, Ezra is also going to run into Kanan and Zeb, it seems, because Kanan and Zeb stole some cargo from the Imperials, and then Ezra stole it from them. And it was interesting, Sabine's over there, and she just warns him about Zeb. Not going to go try to stop him right there herself. We have this big speeder chase, and, well, let's be frank, the Imperials are completely a joke so far in this series. Eventually, our good guys save Ezra from the Imperials at the end, and he makes this big, impressive jump into the ship. In case we're not sure if he's able to use the Force, yeah, he's certainly got some abilities there, huh? And then we move into an atmosphere fight. We've got 4 ties versus that, and we get to see people with guns. So apparently we now know that Sabine and Kanan are good at the guns over in the ship. And hey, it's for Ezra's first time in space, because gotta have somebody that it's actually new for, right? Well, and we find out the Imperials are worried about making sure to snuff out any possible thing that smells like the start of a rebellion, any kind of insurrection. And that's obviously an ominous line that's going to play in later, clearly enough, especially then you give the name of the episode as Spark of Rebellion. Yeah, you can see where this is headed. And we're off to a new planet, and we get a little shanty town called a Tarkin town, which was a nice little touch, I thought. A little reference to Tarkin, the governor. I think they were calling him governor here, not Moff at this point. Yeah, people kicked off their land, and now they're stuck in these little towns. They're poor, they're hungry. And actually, that was a nice piece because we got to see how much of an effect it had on Ezra when they were handing out food to these people. And then, hey, while we're following Ezra, because I guess he's our way into knowing everyone, because after all, they're all a group and we don't know him yet, and neither does Ezra, so he's kind of the eyes for the audience too, in a way. Well, anyway, Ezra follows his intuition, clearly the Force, by the way, at this point, and he finds a Jedi holocron and a lightsaber in one of the quarters. And then gets confronted by Kanan, who clips a lightsaber to his belt, clearly a Jedi. Which is cool, definitely. I think that did ring a bell that I'd heard that, but I guess I hadn't really registered him being a Jedi until I saw it there at that moment. Now I'm definitely happy to have a Jedi in here. Okay, so we're off on a rescue mission to save some Wookiees, who apparently were all ex-Old Republic soldiers, probably fought over on Kashyyyk. And, well, Ezra, unsurprisingly, thinks, well, this is sticking the neck out a little too far for other people there. Who the hell does this? Hera, we do. Back to Spark of Rebellion, right? Oh, funny moment. Zeb pretending for a moment to be a Wookiee to fool the stormtroopers. That got me to laugh. I enjoyed it. It didn't go very far, but it was fun. And guess what? It's a trap. It's a trap. Star Destroyer pops up. They're over in the other ship. You know they're about to be caught. This is not good. And the cliffhanger is Ezra at this decision point. So will he go ahead and really work with them, or will he try to bail at the first sign of trouble? Only time will tell. Probably not much at all, really. That's the end of the first episode. And it was a good first episode. I definitely think I probably should have watched this first and just ignored those shorts. Would have been a much better introduction to the show. And amusingly, of all the things, for what was the biggest letdown for this first episode, it was probably the music, really. And that's a good thing when it comes to it. If that's my biggest letdown, it's not the animation or the acting or the story or the characters. I'm not going to complain as much there, so that's a good thing. Let's just keep moving right along. So, episode 2, Spark of Rebellion, part 2. Well, unsurprisingly, Ezra makes his decision. He kind of had to do it fast anyway, and he runs on in and warns Kanan and Zeb. Good old Ezra right there. We get a little anti-grav in the fight, and Ezra gets captured as they are attempting to escape. Well, the rest of them all get off. It's like, whoa, no one saying anything. Ow. And Hera? Oh, you can see she's pissed when she learns. She uses Zeb's full name, which apparently is Gera Zeb Aurelius. What the hell did you do to poor Ezra right there? How dare you leave him behind? Now, Ezra is off over in a cell on the Star Destroyer, but he still is able to keep one thing on him, one thing that he stole earlier. That little Jedi holocron that we saw. Yeah, he gets that one, and he actually gets it open too, which is pretty impressive for having, like, no training too. It's like, dang. Well, we get a message from Obi-Wan, and oh, it's cool to see Obi-Wan in there, and he looks a little older in here. Also, I think he looked a little better animation-wise last time I saw him. Well, that's neither here nor there. But no, it's a nice, quick little message, you know, they're regretting to inform that the Jedi Order and the Republic have fallen, and the message is a warning and a reminder for any surviving Jedi. Trust in the Force. Now, this is actually only about half the message, because we hear it at the end of the episode. One thing I found interesting was there was a fight on board our ship, on board the Ghost. And it was about whether to go back and save Ezra at all or not. And I actually like that because not having that uniform, hey, we're all good guys, of course we're going to go do it. But actually having a divide in there. And Zeb and Sabine actually both voted against going back to save Ezra, which, bear in mind, he's on a bloody Star Destroyer. I can understand that vote going that way. That said, Hera is very strongly in favor of going back and ultimately wins the vote. Now, as much as they're going back to go save Ezra, well, Ezra actually manages to escape his detention cell by himself. And when they do actually come back for this rescue, I do love that Ezra actually helps them however he can during the course of it. Essentially, he gets this trooper helmet and pretends to be Trooper LS-123. And if that is a reference to something, I don't know what it is. So if it is, let me know down below what the heck Trooper LS-123 is a reference to. Maybe it's something like Light Side 123, I don't know. Oh, another thing that was interesting in there was during the course of the rescue, near the end of it, it was interesting how the Imperial officer actually recognized that the graffiti on the ground meant that an explosion was coming in. Getting a little used to Sabine and her artwork, shall we say. I will say that actually was an extra advantage of having gone ahead and seen the short beforehand, just because it gave a little extra weight to that piece of the officer recognizing the graffiti. So that was nice. Well, anyway, they are off to Kessel now that they've escaped the Star Destroyer to go save the Wookiees, because Ezra overheard while he had that stolen helmet about where the Wookiees were being taken. But of course, the Imperials found the helmet because it was still on the Star Destroyer, and, well, they were like, oh, he was listening in. Oh, I guess we know where they're going. Yeah, a little clumsy there, Ezra. Just a teensy bit. So unsurprisingly, that means the Imperials crash the rescue. So Hera and Chopper are still on the ship, which seems to be something we might be seeing more of. We'll see how much they come off of it, because Hera's obviously our pilot. And they're going to do a 22 pickup, which apparently turns out to be getting everybody into a cargo container and then lifting that up using the ship. Okay, probably won't be the last time we see that move. I'm going to make a bet right here we'll see that at least 2 or 3 more times in the show. At least. Just a guess. Watch me be wrong and they never do it again. Now, one of the interesting things that happens during the course of this whole mission and then them being crashed on by the Imperials and then trying to go ahead and get out is that Kanan has to reveal that he's a Jedi to the Imperials in order to defend them. And you know that's not going to be a good one right there. Ooh. Oh, I love this funky little piece with Zeb to Ezra. As Ezra's trying to get back off to go ahead and help Kanan. Kid, stop. I swear, if he's left behind again, it's not my fault. Nice little humor in there. Now, it's also interesting. We get a little bit later, and Ezra and Kanan are kind of together, and the Imperial officer calls him a master and an apprentice, a rare find. Interesting that he goes straight to that assumption. I've not seen anything out of Ezra, but yeah, definitely, I'm sure there's still some Jedi you find every now and then, and yeah, it's not good times right there. Of course, they get away. No surprise. And then we have this really weird moment, and I don't get why we did it, but the Imperial officer kicks a stormtrooper off the walkway to his death when he asks the officer if it's the first Jedi that the guy has ever seen. And I'm just like, okay, why did we do that? We just need to make the officer Mr. Super Evil? Is that the point? Well, then we are back to Lothal, both to finish things up and also to drop Ezra off potentially. And, well, Ezra is heading off and he gives the open holocron back to Kanan when Kanan asks him about it, of course. Well, and this clearly pleases Hera and Kanan because, hey, he passed the test. They purposely wanted to see if he was able to open that holocron, and, well, he did. Which means we lead to a talk between Kanan and Ezra over at Ezra's place. Ezra has the usual question of, what the hell is the Force, man? Kanan's like, hey, I'm going to give you the usual Jedi speech. It's all around. I learned this from Yoda. It surrounds us, penetrates us. Really, it was a nice talk between Kanan and Ezra, and I enjoyed it. And, well, then Kanan goes ahead and heads back to the ship, leaving Ezra to make his decision. Whatever will he choose? Well, anyway, to close out the episode, the main thing we did was Kanan listens to, well, the entirety of the message. The first part we heard earlier on, and then the last half of it as well. Clearly, this feels like the thesis statement of the show when it really comes to it. The past is gone. The future is uncertain. There's going to be challenges. The friendships are what we're going to care about, and they're trusting each other and their faith and persevering. And of course, working our way up to Star Wars A New Hope, which will emerge. Now, that's not quite the end of the episode because we do see Ezra come back and join though. And then we give one last little scene where we head on over so that Imperial officer that we saw earlier, Agent Callus, as we hear his name, well, he goes ahead and contacts the Inquisitor at the end of the episode because I've seen somebody who looks like they're a Jedi. Now, this is a little heavy-handed of an ending. Really, the episode should have ended before this. We didn't need to see this. The Imperials clearly saw what was going on with Kanan. They clearly know that Kanan was a Jedi from what they saw. And considering what we did at the beginning of the first episode, obviously there's an Inquisitor that we're going to have to worry about later. Heck, I don't even think that part was necessary. But give more credit for that one. Heavy-handed ending, though. But hey, overall, this was a good episode as well, and I thought it was a good introduction to the show. Sets me off at a good foot, and I'm hopeful for what the show will be at this point. Well, let's go talk about the next one. We're going to talk about droids in distress, and this worried me off the bat because I know droids being in titles from Clone Wars is usually assigned to bad episodes. Let's see if I'm right on that, shall we? Well, we're back over on Lothal, and we're off of it and back to it, and yeah, we do all kinds of things here, jumping back, but we like being on Lothal a lot. So we're going to be dealing with some arms dealing because we are desperate for money right now. And the opening reveal is, guess what? It's R2 and C-3PO! Dun 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 dun! I gotta be honest, if you didn't see Clone Wars, that probably would be better. For me, I'm like, oh, it's R2 and C-3PO. Ooh, hopefully this will actually be okay. Yeah. And then this Star Commuter shuttle we're seeing, ST-45 and all. Is this all just a big Star Tours reference? The pilot sure as hell looks and acts just like Rex. And then even the look of the ship is really similar. And yeah, I mean, this has got to be a Star Tours reference. Oh, it has to be. And that was fun. I love the Star Tours reference being in there. Which I suppose makes Rex canon then in this case. I do assume that's Rex. It's gotta be Rex. Well, at any rate, on board the ship, we have some Imperials pop on in, and apparently these are the Imperials we care to really get in with, so they get rid of the droids and they have Sabine act as a translator for the Imperial and misdirect them to the wrong bay. Oh, and for what it's worth, the droids got to be annoying for a little bit in the episode, so I'll glaze over that, but they did. So we go on in, we steal these T7 ion disruptors. Then we have this big ol' fight on board, and again, there are completely ineffective stormtroopers. Moving on. And R2 and C-3PO get on board the ship with them, so they stole the weapons, they made it back onto the Ghost of their own ship, and off they go. Now, it gets a little more interesting here because Zeb has some real problems selling these weapons because apparently we find out from Hera that those weapons, those T7 ion disruptors, they apparently were used on Zeb's people in massive genocide. Nasty, nasty stuff because they're designed for big ships, but on people? Ooh, yeah. Now, I would have loved if we'd gone even deeper on this, but we didn't really go too much deeper on this piece here. And guess what? The Imperials intercept a distress call from C-3PO because, of course, why not an idiot move from C-3PO? Sure, let's toss that in. Can't be a C-3PO episode without it, right? So, yeah. Anywho, they make the arms deal and they're making it, about to get their money. But the Imperials come with all their troops and then these big old chicken walkers, which are interesting chicken walkers. They look more like they're chameleon-like, especially because of these eye kind of things going on with the weapon slits over there. And apparently C-3PO, because he thinks, oh, look, they're going to save me because I'm an idiot. Well, I'm going to go right up to those stormtroopers because if I walk up to them and I'm happy they're here to save me, that'll be fine. And so all 5 of them are down, ready and aiming, and they all fire at C-3PO. And remember, C-3PO walked up closer to them. So, I mean, C-3PO's dead now. You never knew that happened in the original Star Wars movie, but yeah, he was fried by those 5 stormtroopers. They just all shot him. No, because apparently 5 stormtroopers with the C-3PO near them can't hit him. They were all shooting at him. And then only after they start shooting at him does he even turn around and slowly start to walk away, in which case they still can't hit him. Okay. I should stop complaining about this, but oh, it is so annoying. I heard someone make a reference that the stormtroopers are kind of like the battle droids back in Clone Wars. Except the battle droids back in Clone Wars could actually hit something. And part of the real problem we have, I think, in this show off the bat, is that in Clone Wars, at least you had some people that could be expendable. We had some red shirts because you could just kill off some unnamed clones. Here, we don't have anybody that's extra. All of our main people, it's a small crew, and you can't let them ever kill you or hit anybody. So we have to make them completely and utterly ineffective. And, what a mess. Not a fan of that issue right there. Oh, anyway. Not going to let myself get too bogged down in that one. Although I may not help but comment on it on occasion, but I'll try not to dig into it as much as I just did right here. Yeah. Okay, so a couple other things happen. Kanan decides he'll finally actually start training Ezra, kind of like he said he was going to. And that's also partly because Hera was a little bit ticked at him earlier for not doing it yet. Yeah. So Kanan obviously resistant to training Ezra for some reason or another. And the nice last piece is that we actually got to go ahead and see Bail Organa. Because we had to return R2 and C-3PO to him. It really was nice seeing Bail. I liked that. And there was a little hint toward him working on starting a rebellion within all of this. That said, this largely was not a very good episode. It really feels like it could have been skipped without probably missing anything, really. Although, I mean, yes, you would have missed the Star Tours reference. That would have been sad. And I wouldn't have seen Bail. Aside from that, though. Still, let me say, even here, it is not as bad as Clone Wars got a few times. Oof, that got worse. For sure right there. Episode 4, Fight or Flight. Now, I'm not going to talk a ton about this one. This was not a great episode, in my opinion. Now, we saw some fun things. We got to see Sabine practicing her graffiti art and Ezra really cringily hitting on Sabine. It just, ow. It just was not working there at all. And then for no good reason, apparently the droid Chopper is antagonizing Ezra and Zeb and getting Zeb really pissed off at Ezra. Really, it seemed like it was only for the excuse to send the two off on a supply run together, which happens, and apparently Hera wants them to really spend time together, so she sends them off for a fresh Mailaroon fruit, which apparently don't even exist on Lothal, so right. But this whole thing of trying to get those two to spend time together, well, they separate right off the bat. And that Mailaroon thing, it was a joke, and they realized it was a joke, and that wasn't really something they were really being asked to do. But they find a crate of them from the Imperials and choose to steal them from the Imperials anyway and lose everything else that they were actually gathering from the market. Yeah, okay. We just want to give an excuse for this episode, but it's just painful. It shouldn't be happening at all. So they end up hijacking a TIE fighter, and we have all kinds of hijinks with that. And then we end up running into, oh look, there's smoke out over there because a farmer friend of Ezra's parents, who Ezra met in the market again, well, apparently the Imperials are forcing them off the farm. And so we get to see more of Ezra using the Force as they're fighting, because of course we're going to go save them from the prison transport ship that they're being carried across on. Prison transport speeder, really. Now, the fighting was rather meh. And I can't help but think, hey, what would really happen to that farmer and the other couple people with him? Like, really? They were saved by people who had stolen a Imperial TIE fighter. The Imperials were worried about rebellions, etc. You were saved by those people. Yeah, things are not going to go well because those farmers are now associated with them. They're not safe. Further, even if that doesn't happen, what the hell is going to stop them from going right back and locking them up and taking them off the farm anyway? Maybe you're just hoping they'll try to escape off planet or something? Yeah, there was just like no thought given to any of this. And that was frustrating. So it was another waste of an episode for me. I guess really welcome to season 1, right? I had some hopes after the 2-part opening, but then dang, you get these 2 episodes right after that and it's yikes, man. Now, hey, maybe you enjoyed these ones. Maybe you're completely different, and that is okay if you do. Let me say that. I never have a problem with somebody else enjoying something I didn't, or hell, disliking something I enjoyed. Either way is fine. That's your opinion, this is mine, and it's all good. But we're not going to end it off on this sour note. Let us make it through one more episode. So this is Rise of the Old Masters, the 5th episode of season 1. Now we get to see Kanan and Ezra training a bit on top of the ship. And they joke a bit about not understanding try not, do or do not, there is no try. Which I would think it means there's bad training going on. I mean, if Kanan does not understand the meaning of the phrase, somebody screwed up and did not tell him what the hell the purpose was. And what's the point of giving you a phrase that you don't understand? I think the phrase is not that hard to figure out, but that's my opinion. And maybe I've lived with that phrase too long, so it's all good. Now, this is where we also get weird because guess what? We're doing this training and it involves Chopper throwing things at Ezra, so he'll block them with the lightsaber or whatever. And, well, he does it enough that Ezra actually gets knocked off the ship and Kanan has to go use the Force to lift him back up and save his life. Dang. And then it's supposed to be funny that Chopper throws another object at Ezra after that. Apparently, Chopper wants to murder Ezra? And just really hates him? I mean, if you give what happened in the other episode, where remember he was trying to antagonize Ezra and get Zeb mad at Ezra? I don't know, maybe this is actually a thing and we're going to explore this and find out that Chopper has some real big personality issues and there's a big conflict between him and Ezra. I don't know. That's about the only way, I mean, it's at least somewhat okay with what we just did here. Wow. Okay, let's get on beyond the attempted murder now. Let's move onward. Oh, hey, that's cool, by the way. We got a Lothcat. There's a Lothcat in here for just a bit. Very cool. Moving on, we get a transmission, and this is a nice bit of world building here for a moment, and plot setup too, for that matter. So we get to hear on the transmission that the stolen tie that from the other episode was used to attack a transport with farmers, or at least that's how it's being told to everyone. So nice bit on propaganda and what might happen. And then we also hear from Senator in exile Gall Travis, who speaks up and interrupts the feed essentially. And he says a number of things, and apparently we find out that Luminara Unduli is being held captive over at the Spire at Stygian Prime. Ah, the Spire at Stygian Prime. I remember that from the good old Son of Dathomir comic where Darth Maul was being held. Nice, nice. Way to bring things back in. I like that. So we're going to go ahead and work on a rescue attempt, most certainly. Although one should note there's a little bit of conflict between Kanan and Ezra because Kanan's just not feeling the whole training thing for Ezra. It's just not going well. Yeah. Okay, and so we're off to that rescue attempt. And it's the same kind of thing with the same 4 who are actually down doing the rescue, while meanwhile Hera and Chopper stay on board the ship. And apparently we need to head way on down in the prison, down to level CC01, which is cell 0169. This is always where I go, CC01 and cell 0169. Gotta wonder, is there a reference hidden in there that I'm just not catching? I can always look it up afterwards. I'm always worried about running into spoilers for the rest of the show if I do that since I'm ongoing right now. But hey, if there is a reference I'm missing, let me know. I'm always curious. I love to hear those little tidbits. So definitely let me know. And meanwhile, things are starting to go a little sideways because, this rescue mission can't go straight forward. There's got to be some issues that just start happening. So meanwhile, those flying ray creatures that are outside apparently start trying to mate with the ship. I guess Sabine's signal is on the same frequency. So that's going to throw a wrench in. And back inside the Spire, we have Kanan not messing around. There's too much at stake when it's about rescuing a Jedi Master. And they end up finding Luminara's cell, but it's a trap. Oh, I mean, I was looking forward to seeing Luminara if she was actually in here. I really was. Nope. Luminara actually died with the Republic, so she probably died during Order 66 would be my guess. But apparently they are maintaining her bones and part of her body in some kind of stasis capsule because it contains, I guess, enough of her essence or life force or something. Just enough anyway to fool nearby Jedi into thinking that she is actually down there in the Spire. Oh, that is a nasty trap right there. But that said, of course, it's not going to be that good a trap, because if it was, then our heroes would be dead and, well, the show would be over, right? Now that said, it is time to introduce our Inquisitor for real, the one that we went ahead and gave a little preview of at the beginning of the very first episode. So he pops out his lightsaber, and at first I'm going, wow, this is kind of this cutlass-like lightsaber just because of how it's got this hilt going. And we get a lightsaber duel going there. And there's an interesting piece here where the Inquisitor recognizes Kanan's fighting style to be from Kanan's Jedi Master Depa Billaba, because he's using Form 3 of fighting. Apparently the Inquisitor has access to all the Jedi records, and they keep great records, so hey, nice stuff for him, huh? But now that this lightsaber on the Inquisitor gets even more interesting, because now we see it becomes a double-sided lightsaber. Oh, okay, this is getting more interesting. Now that Inquisitor calls Kanan unfocused and undisciplined, and Ezra's like, hey, they were perfect for each other. I'm not sure if that's really the best thing for a guy who's unfocused and undisciplined to be taught by another person who's unfocused and undisciplined. You're probably not going to learn the whole focus and discipline at that rate. How many times can I say focus and discipline in a short period of time, right? Or unfocused and undisciplined. Okay, we'll stop. Now that lightsaber on the Inquisitor gets interesting again because now it starts rotating around the hilt. Okay, that's intriguing. And at this point I'm like, is there actually some other purpose to it other than looking cool? And later find out that actually there is. Get to that in a second here, because the fighting then eventually moves all the way through the Spire. They trap the Inquisitor behind a door as they get off into one of those docking platforms. And I do have to ask, why is Ezra still using that, I gotta be honest, crappy slingshot weapon? It's ineffective against Stormtrooper armor, and it just doesn't make sense to keep using that over top of having, say, a blaster. I guess it doesn't take up much room. Maybe you can just keep that pretty easily without it taking space. I guess that could be a reason. But really, it's kind of time for him to have something a little more useful. Well, anyway, they're on their escape, and the Inquisitor, we find out the other purpose of his lightsaber is it can apparently be thrown like a shuriken, which will return to him. That's pretty cool right there. Okay, the whole rotating thing, yeah, I grant it has a purpose then if you're using it like that. Very cool. So yeah, we built up the Inquisitor. They got away from him, which always hurts a little bit in the value of how bad an enemy is and how scary they are. But still, that lightsaber especially is pretty dang cool. Now at the end of the episode, Kanan and Ezra talk. And apparently Kanan seems to understand what that line from Yoda means now, the one that I was joking about at the beginning. Okay, and so he will train Ezra. He won't try, he will do it. No surprises here. Now this one was considerably better than the last two episodes before it. And I like the additional information on Luminara and the world building that with taking the Jedi, and also heck, the senator in exile that we referenced. All of those pieces were nice. It still wasn't a great episode though. But if we can start keeping the episodes at least to this quality, oh man, would I appreciate that right there. Now, I will say at this point, I think part of my problem a little bit is that I'm just not quite there yet for truly liking these characters. It's got to get there, and it's going to take time, I'm sure of that. But right now, the characters generally seem a little shallow. We haven't really given them the depth that they need to truly be interesting characters. And I know, maybe I won't even get that in season 1. Maybe I will have to wait till we get into season 2 and whatnot for that. And that's okay. I'm here for that long haul. If so, there are a lot of promising aspects here to start. But hey, as far as the shorts in the first 5 episodes are concerned, it was, as I said, a mixed bag. The shorts were disappointing. The 2-part opener was impressively good. Far better than I expected, actually, here for season 1 with all the warnings. And then this 5th episode gave me hope again. It gave me a new hope. So yeah, right now it looks like it's probably, I'm going to be in for a bit of a roller coaster ride for season 1 if the episode quality is going in and out like this. But hey, okay, it's ultimately a good start considering that I had low expectations for season 1. Now, next week will be another Rebels video, and I will go ahead and put that out probably Monday next week. It could be Tuesday again. We'll see. It'll be one of those two right there. And hey, well, what about you? Have you seen Star Wars Rebels? And did you watch it before you saw Clone Wars or after you saw Clone Wars? And if so, did that make a difference in how much you enjoyed Star Wars Rebels? Let me know down below in the comments. And thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like and share, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done it yet already. I'll see you back here tomorrow for another new episode of Freeform Disney. Have a magical day, and may the Force be with you. Always.